Character clash. Ready?
Round 1.
Physical skills.
Jason VOORHEES, that guy who can't die, and seems to have a hidden gem in Crystal Lake. Jason has the strength of a 2-ton truck driving downhill, no brakes, and a bad temper. He communicates by punching, a regenerative ability that any member of the X-Men would want, and almost ridiculous endurance. Jason has been choked, stabbed, burned, and he still walks with Monday morning grace. He doesn't move fast, but when he gets there, well, you know, if you've ever wondered what it would be like to get hit by a truck and survive, just ask Jason. Rick has his own version of beast mode courtesy of the terror mask, turning into a low-level Hulk. He has the strength to punch through walls and gut giant monsters like they're made of paper. Physically, he's Jason's cousin who actually went to the gym, though he also has the speed of a guy who eats 3 proteins a day. His strength is off the charts for humans, but he's still human at his core, albeit a bit modified. Sometimes it seems like if he coughs hard enough, his mask might come off and he's left with a bodybuilder's body, but a nerd's mentality.
Round 2.
Combat skills.
Jason's stealth is curious. The guy doesn't run, but he always gets to where you need to be. Who needs stealth when you can magically appear behind your prey like a syndicated ghost? Even though hand-to-hand combat isn't his technical specialty, the machete always hits the mark. It works, sure, but it's not exactly varied. His combat technique, though, is simpler than a stick because he basically uses a stick or a machete or anything with a blade. It limits him to doing the same thing over and over again. At least he's consistent, like a taxi driver who always makes the wrong turn. Rick is more versatile. He can use everything from his fists to improvised weapons, and he has a wider repertoire of moves than an aerobics class. The problem is that Rick is more of a beast, and his idea of stealth is to deliver a punch so hard that everything goes silent afterwards. And he doesn't just stop at punching, he's also an expert at using improvised weapons. Those nailed bats always come in handy, and knows how to take advantage of every dark corner of the hellish mansions he visits. His training against nightmarish creatures has given him a varied arsenal, and though it may not seem like it, he has considerable stealth skills when he puts his mind to it. Plus, the Mask of Terror gives him a strategic advantage, like having a gore GPS in his head.
Round 3.
Survival skills.
Survival? Jason has died more times than Marvel franchises have rebooted their universes. He's been burned, drowned, electrocuted, decapitated, and he's still going. Probably because dying has become boring for him. He's so used to coming back that he even managed to keep handing out machete blows in space. Because dying is his hobby, and his favorite pastime is not staying dead. In fact, he survives everything except the end credits of his own movie. A born survivor, although, well, he's technically dead now. Rick is hard to kill, thanks to that damn Mask of Terror. Get his arm torn off? No big deal, the mask fixes it. The mask keeps him alive even as he loses blood in torrents, gives him regeneration, and motivates him to keep fighting for his beloved Jennifer, which is a pretty powerful motivation. Jason can survive a lake, but Rick has stepped out of hellish dimensions. But here's the catch. If the mask gets tired of Rick, it's showtime. So his survival depends on whether his hellish accessory decides it's still useful. Unlike Jason, Rick can still feel pain and exhaustion, which puts him at a disadvantage in a survival marathon. Without it, he's just a human, and we already know how that ends in any horror movie.
Round 4.
Unprepared.
Jason doesn't need any training. His modus operandi is simple. Appear, kill, disappear. If they did happen to meet, Jason would probably do what he does best. Appear out of nowhere and try to cut Rick up with his rusty machete. Of course, that's assuming Rick is in his human form. But knowing Jason, he'd probably get a little too confident. And while Rick would take a few hits at first, it wouldn't be long before he transformed. Rick, even when unprepared, has the advantage of rapid transformation. His base stamina is already considerable, but once the mask takes over, it doesn't matter if Jason has the upper hand. If Jason were to come crashing down on him out of nowhere, Rick would likely react by crushing him with the first thing he could find, a piece of wall, a beam, or some nearby enemy. With his superhuman strength and ability to adapt to combat, he would give the masked giant a good fight. Rick doesn't need to think, he just acts and hopes it works. The problem, however, is that the longer the fight goes on, the more likely the mask will demand a blood quota. In the end, strength and rage always find a way or crush one.
Round 5.
With preparation.
What would Jason do if he could prepare for a battle? Would making sure his mask was on tight make his machete sharper? His plan has always been to get up, find a machete, and go hunt down teenagers. But hey, he has the uncanny power of always knowing where you are, so that counts as preparation, right? Honestly, even a few months of preparation wouldn't change his strategy much. He might manage to pull off a few traps, but the poor guy isn't the most brilliant strategist in camp. Rick, on the other hand, given some time, would prepare for the carnage like it was a sporting event. He would lift weights, adjust his mask, sharpen some blunt tool, and get ready to face Jason. And honestly, with his ability to use the environment and his sheer strength, he would probably overcome any ambush Jason might come up with. His mask would whisper strategies to him for ripping Jason from his miserable unlife, as well as a handy guide on how not to die in the process. The Mask of Terror turns any battle into a chess game with demonic stakes. Rick would make sure every blow counted, and that Jason would end up more broken than his mask.
Round 6.
General data.
Jason VOORHEES. Physical skills 9. Combat skills 6. Survival skills 10. Unprepared 8. With preparation 7. Total 39. Rick. Splatterhouse. Physical skills 9. Combat skills 8. Survival skills 7. Unprepared 9. With preparation 9. Total 42.
Final round.
Conclusion.
In a Jason versus Rick showdown, the differences are subtle but decisive. While Jason is the epitome of endurance and immortality, his lack of combat variability and preparation puts him at a disadvantage to Rick, who is more adaptable and capable of using different fighting styles and weapons. Jason would rely on his endless stamina and ability to surprise, but Rick, with his raw brutality and ability to improvise, would find ways to hit where it hurts, if Jason hurts at all. While Jason has the physical advantage and his immortality is a nightmare for anyone, Rick has what it takes to make up for that disadvantage. With the Mask of Terror empowering him, Rick is not only brutally strong, but also adaptable and tactical. Rick can plan, react better, and survive long enough to turn combat in his favor. Going into it unprepared would be closer, but with time to plan. In the end, Rick would win because of his ability to think. Well, his way of thinking, of course, and his sheer destructive power. And, of course, because sometimes all you need to defeat an immortal zombie is a guy with enough brute strength and a demonic mask. As Rick would say after the fight, if you can't beat him until he stops moving, and he would take the trophy, possibly made of Jason's bones. Jason can get back up all he wants, but Rick will put him down faster than you can put on a Halloween mask.
Do you agree with the result? And if not, tell me why. If you like this video, please subscribe, like and share.